and welcome into the League Down Under podcast. It's the podcast that takes you inside the inner sanctum of our Dynasty League. It poses the question, which team are you going to side with? I'm your host, Ben, joined back as a co-host now, Keeney, and always Hod. How we doing, guys?
Very well, Ben. It's a big night, mate. We've got the smartest man in the league, and we actually wanted an afternoon recording today, but here we are at 9 p.m. following suit from the rookie draft. Hod, it's going to be a big one, mate. Are you excited?
I am excited, boys. And how about them Knicks?
Oh,
now, I'm not a fan of the Knicks. I'm a Timberwolves man myself, but
hey, you would have liked Cat. Were you happy to see Cat get a trophy?
I do. I love everything about the Knicks team. I just think the fans are absolutely nuts. That was pretty rubbish. But I'll find a positive in everything. And this just gives all of us Essendon supporters hope that 53 years, it's pretty dire for the Bombers, and we might be able to be there someday.
Is it a little bit akin to England winning the World Cup in the soccer this year? Is that sort of the where we're going with this?
Yeah, that would be wild scenes if England get up for the World Cup. It would rival a Knicks championship. I did hear the stat. They said if the Knicks went on the same 53-year drought, it would mean that they wouldn't win another title until the year 2079, which is an interesting prospect when you put it like that. So it doesn't sound like a real year. So that's hopefully it's not as big a wait for Knicks fans after that. But that was, move on from basketball. It's time to get into a bit of NFL news here. And Keeney, you alluded to it that we've got the smartest man in the league joining us tonight. And I think there's probably, for any listener out there who doesn't know this individual, we've, courtesy of our Instagram following here, and, you know, if you haven't followed along, Instagram, the League Down Under, but we've also got our teams that are starting up their Instagram page. One that just fills us with constant content is the Bayside Executioners Instagram page. So please get onto that page if you haven't already. And he's just created his own little video for us just to get a little bit of a slice of the sensible haircut. So this was his takeaway.
Together, you will make the greatest receiver group in fantasy history. So most of you need to leave.
It's a pretty, it's a good visual as well. So jump on the YouTube channel, the League Down Under. But we give every other team an intro song, so let's not drag this out any longer, and we'll introduce the GM of the Johnny Unitas Sensible Haircuts.
Get a haircut and get a real job. Get a haircut and get a real job. Clean your act.
Welcome to the podcast, Steve Mann. How we doing?
Oh, thanks, boys. What a warm introduction. I feel like I've been ambushed from about 6 different directions. I'm quite terrified looking at Benny over there with the mane that you've grown since I last saw you. Try to turn yourself into an actual Park City Lion, clearly.
Well, I was going to say, this is how deep the Bo Callahan division goes, that we've found ourselves in a division. I used to have a sensible haircut, and I thought, well, I'm a lion. I've got to grow the hair out. You're a sensible haircut. It will really get under your skin if you just look at these Joe Namath-style locks.
It genuinely does. And a little bit of Trevor Lawrence, back just to reminding you of your
my
former
only
draft
first
conquest.
round, my only first round pick.
But and then the Matt Sheehan video, that's got my eye twitching. The patches on the guy's hair, I'm not gonna lie, I lost it. That was very, very good. Trying to stay muted till I was introed while watching that was a very difficult challenge.
I do like that Manny's first comment was on the haircut of you, Ben. That's really true to form. But what else is true to form is that we have labelled you the smartest man in the league. It feels to me like it sits really well with you. Is it fair to say that's the case?
Look, I've got a lot of leather-bound books in my possession, which obviously contributes a little bit towards that. But no, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. It's probably not the case when it comes to most things in life, but when it does come to fantasy strategy, when it comes to NFL, when it comes to turning up on a podcast and dissecting your opposition, I'll definitely take the label of smartest man in the room.
You might be the smartest man in the room, we know that, but we didn't know you were the toughest man in the room. And looking at this YouTube jump on YouTube,
Jump on.
ladies and gentlemen, because he is wearing a shiner, and it looks good for the pod, looks good for the team, but you can take that makeup off now, Manny.
No, look, I'm not allowed to comment specifically because there's some investigations underway with the local constabulary down at Oakley, but let's just say the old Dim City Stallions does BFT with my wife on the 6 a.m. session in the mornings. And
Is that a euphemism?
it's no, quite literally. They go to the gym together. So he figured out where I lived, didn't take too kindly to some of the feedback of our trade the other week, and found him sitting outside my letterbox 2 nights ago when I came home from work. So anyway,
Harding style.
yeah, well, that's right. It was a precision attack. Didn't see it coming. So felt like a frozen dimmy, just straight to the middle of the eyeball. So yes,
Looks a bit like a bit of soy sauce under the eyelid, doesn't it?
yeah. No, it smelt sort of South Melbourne-y as well. So it was kind of a bit of a big one.
It's an upmarket attack.
Yeah. Anyway, I wouldn't mind the dim sum, sort of a little peppering, like it would probably. But anyway, it's unproven as yet. It's all allegations at this point.
Wow. Dim City. What is your favourite dim sim, by the way? You a fried man, steam man, South Melbourne?
I'm a big dumpling man, which I'd say is not that far from a dim sim.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, the closer you can get to a dumpling. So yeah, probably the little dim sum. You know when you get them in the
Wonton
wicker
soup.
basket, sort of, that kind of setup. But steamed would be
Love
my
it.
preference, of course.
Steamed. Well, we've gone down this path a little bit in the podcast, and I'm really interested in the dietary habits of one Steve Man. So talk us through your lunch order today, mate. I want to know what you had for lunch
Today,
Yep.
so today's lunch kind of starts on Saturday because I had 8 burgers over the weekend.
Wait.
I genuinely did. So Friday night we had a Friday night footy game. Had a couple Maccas, got a cup, double quarter pounder, and then the old, the new ones from Maccas, the London menu, the Philly cheesesteak. They go down all right. Had one of them as well. So 4 patties down Friday night, 2 burgers.
Was that post game?
That was post game. Our post game. Yeah. And then Saturday I had a Bucks. So had a nice little lunch, but then got a couple more burgers Saturday night. So then I was up to 4. Had a cheeky Sunday recovery burger or 2, and then Sunday night was grilled at the footy club, my son's junior footy club, and half the kids weren't eating their burgers, so a couple more. So 8 burgers. Anyway, so yesterday I didn't barely eat any food, was starving again today, so I thought I'd swing by Hungry Jack's for a double whopper just to get back on the horse. Yeah. So
It'd been too long between burgers at that point.
What
hadn't
was it? Bacon deluxe? What did you run?
no, just the
A
double
double
cheese,
whopper.
double whopper with cheese. I think once you develop a taste for it, it's really hard to wean yourself off.
You've consumed over 20 patties in 4 days.
Yeah, and I have, and all I'm going to say is
That's a
I'm
good
going to live
rate.
to 100, and I'm going to
Yeah.
be a scientific marvel.
Yeah, you'll be that
Mark
bloke
my
on the
words.
news where they go, "What's your secret?" And you're like, "Just smashing 8 burgers,
Absolutely.
averaging 2 burgers a day."
You know, when I was in high school, I used to have a little clip pasted in my diary of a lady who had eaten McDonald's every meal for the last 70 years or something, and she was like 102 or something like that. And I was like, "It's my hero. We've all got to have something to aspire to."
If this podcast goes balls up, we have another side hustle that will be smashing patties with the haircuts. That's for sure.
Just hoping to get the cheeseburgers one day. Genuinely, in every league I'm in, I'm like, I'll do the 24 cheeseburger challenge. Just let me.
Yes.
I can't finish last though. I can't do it. Too
I would do
mediocre.
the same. I would happily sit here and talk food with you for the rest of the night, Manny. But in the interest of the podcast, we're here to talk about the sensible haircuts. It's a fascinating team for this upcoming season. Has been a fascinating team for the journey, really, which we'll get into. But we're really interested to know where are the haircuts at? Are you contending? Are you pretending? Because you're not rebuilding, I wouldn't say, with the amount of draft picks you have. But fill us in, mate. I'm keen to hear this, and so are the listeners.
It's a very good question, and one I probably don't have an answer to. The honest answer is I'm meandering through the off season, slowly realigning myself to the concept of NFL. As a North Melbourne supporter, I've been pretty tuned in this time of year because we've been hopeless, and now we're half decent. I'm a little bit little bit behind the times when it comes. My entire NFL library of knowledge comes from your three good selves and the podcast. So what I would probably say is I'm a team that thinks that I'm still half a chance of contending, hasn't really done anything about making it better, hasn't really done anything about deciding whether I should reset either. Which is a little bit of a vanilla answer, unfortunately, but we are about sensible haircuts down at Johnny Unitas. So.
And what about your division, mate? Like, what the rest of your division and what that looks like? How does that influence, I suppose, your philosophy? Because you're right, Hod. Like, you've never really tanked, and you've been competitive, but without really threatening too much. Are you planning on picking a side at some point, or are you just going to meander the whole way through?
I think a sensible haircut is very much around kind of short back and sides, trusty, true, right bang square in the middle, not taking risks at either end. And I think the team has lived up to that across the journey. I would say quite honestly, I think I'm in a league filled with people that have far more knowledge and far more, especially listening to the Matty Macs of the world, far more attention span for really staying right up to date with the latest in the NFL. So my strategy along the way has kind of been just deviate from what everyone else is doing and assumedly you're going to find some value there. Early days, it was like everyone thought, running backs and high scorings was the go, and I thought I'm going to build wide receivers and just target players that will play for 10 years. And then as it sort of shifted towards that, I was like, all right, what can I do? All right, I'm going to try and dominate a draft. Did that about 2 or 3 years in and had kind of the whole first round. As other people have sort of started to do that, I've gone down more of a path of like, I think I really like bulking up on tight ends and kind of just having heaps of swings at quarterback. But to be honest, at no point have I ever kind of gone, right, pull the trigger. You've got half a good team here. Let's put the rest of the pieces in place, which is probably why I think I sit smack bang in the middle when it comes to win-loss record and haven't ever really challenged at either end of the table.
I was about to say here, because I've gone on the league history, and I don't know if you did look at this, that you are currently sitting in all-time standings 6th out of 12 with a record of 42 and 41. That you could not be more middling if you tried. So that's actually pretty bang on. The closest to you is 54% and the closest below you is 45%. So there's not even anyone really in that 50% mark. That is where you've just entrenched yourself. So it's a fair assessment just off the top of your head that is well and truly reflected in the overall standings.
Right. I've never had a genuine chance of like a lottery pick. I think I might have got a 5 or 6 once, and that's about it. And equally, I've never made a final. Am I
right in saying that you had the 5th pick that you traded to Matty Mac that became Chase? Jamar Chase? Is that
First year was 5th pick, and I reckon the year I had heaps of draft picks, mine might have been 6th, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
And even then, I don't think I've ever had a top 2 pick. Like, I've just smack bang in the middle. But that's okay. I think this conversation is probably useful because it's pointing out to me I should probably change something up.
Well, it's a good time to zag while others are zigging. I like it. All right.
Roster dive.
Dive.
Yeah, you run with it, Benny.
So, essentially, like you've kind of hinted on a little bit of you've got your head back around your team now that you've parked North Melbourne to the side and you're starting to look at Dynasty again. But have a bit of a... Run us through what you think your strengths are of your team, what your weaknesses are, and we'll head over to our good friends at Dynasty Daddy and see if that does line up there.
Yeah, so I think I feel really good at tight end. I feel very good at quarterback, which I know I hear you all on the pod. I cop a lot of criticism for my quarterback strategy, but I reckon I've got 6 or 7 starters. So while they might not all have the hugest amount of value, I've got a lot of depth in the position, and I guess in theory I could, move some of them around during the season to get a bit of value, as I've already done this year with old mate to Jim, who's now going to be QB1 for the next 10 years. I've really liked my wide receivers early days, but that has probably dropped away quite significantly because I didn't move around enough in that space, but I don't mind. Got a couple of young ones there, they're okay. Running back's always been my weakness, but running back, to be honest, I just don't care that much about. I just feel like it's the last... it's the icing I'll put on the cake when I'm actually 2/3 of the way through a season and feel like I'm a genuine chance. I just think like you can get a good one if you want to throw enough at it and if you've got enough assets in your team. So that's never really been my focus.
That you've been pretty consistent with that 0 RB mentality this whole time, and you found talent in a starting position with some aging players or some sort of dart throws. I know Kyron Williams was an interesting one that, you pretty much got in for dirt cheap and then turned into an absolute viable starter. So you certainly, I think, navigated that side of things. I'll share what Dynasty Daddy has got on display here for you. But, if you look at the little web chart here, it does have you pretty balanced with a big lean towards tight end and probably towards QB, like you mentioned. It is saying that running back is your biggest need. Brock Bowers, just an absolute superstar. Keeney's already, I don't know if you listened to Keeney's episode, but that's the player he wanted. Did that pique your interest, or did you basically just think?
Listen, I listened to Keeney's episode. I listened to his voice notes. He leaves me every morning when I wake up. I'm aware that Keeney, along with a couple of others, have quite an interest in Brock. The DFF in particular, I'm not sure what it is about Brock Bowers, but really like something about him. Yeah, could be. Not sure. He's described him in a lot of he's sort of angelic. He's his white knight was a word he used at one point in time. So he's obviously got eyes on him as well. But yeah, this feels about right. The other one as well is tricky for me. I kind of wish I wasn't a Vikings fan because Justin Jefferson I love him so much as a player, and he's such a big asset that I could do something with or could have done something with over the years. But I can't part with him. It's just too much of a homer. I love the idea of having him for 10 years. Yeah.
To mention that to the listeners, for anyone who isn't aware, we have got an extremely big Minnesota Vikings fan, and you drafted Justin Jefferson in the startup draft. He's been a mainstay on your roster this whole time, and the talent, you absolutely, no one can deny that. So I can't see him ever departing your roster. Are you aligned to Camo in the sense that if everyone's got a price, or are you a sentimental Homer style, basically he's off the table until I feel... you did just... To give context as well so people get more of a picture, you traded Adam Thielen back into your side basically when he was on his last leg so he could have the retirement tour at the haircut. So is Jefferson going to be your mainstay?
Probably. I did have a chat with Matty Mack at, the infamous rookie draft, sort of 6 bottles of red down, and we loosely hashed out a deal for JJ, which I think might have been 3 firsts at the time. But the deal was kind of, look, this is a in principle agreement, but let's assess where we are sort of 4 or 5 weeks into the season and see if it makes sense for both parties still. And I probably had buyer's remorse, not even buyer's remorse. I woke up feeling very, very nervous the next morning, and I think I pretty quickly backed away from that if he even would have wanted to go ahead. But I think the problem with him is until we get the quarterback right again, he'll never be as highly valued in the world as he is in my mind. So I'll probably never get a deal done for him anyway. And if we get the quarterback right, then I probably will overrate him anyway because if he goes back to being a wide receiver 1 in the league kind of thing, So it's probably difficult to see me trading him, but I would never say never. I let Adam Thielen go at one point and obviously brought him home for his retirement party. So you never.
How did that trade never see the light of day? That's interesting that we're hearing this right here, right now. But speaking of Brock Bowers, everyone's very excited about Brock. But I just want to touch on Brock's head. What are your thoughts on that haircut? And is he planning a trip to Turkey at some point, Manny?
Look, it's an interesting head, isn't it? Just the shape generally. It's
It's like he's got a helmet on already.
Yeah, well, that's right, and that's probably why he's so good. Double layers. He's
double burgers and layers. Wow.
he's got something like from a haircut perspective. He's just got a really good base to work with. I think I'm not one who sits here and goes, you need to have the fanciest hair. You look at some of the players in my team. JJ's a little bit flamboyant for my liking, but Brock's just got a really nice short trimmer hair, and you don't have to do a lot to get it looking sensible.
That is fair. I hear that was the main reason. A lot of people were down on Tyler Shuck, and that was one of the main reasons. You just thought, no, he's got a nice, clean, crisp haircut. He clearly seems like a socks up kind of guy.
Definitely.
Is that sort of character? Is that some of the character assessment you go for in your drafting?
He wears a waistcoat to church on Sundays. He's exactly what we're looking for at the haircuts. We're all about character, and you talked about Camo and his ability to throw anyone under the bus. I'm much more of a not quite sort of DFF, I'll never trade, or a Tim, I'm impossible to trade with. I'm just more of a back my guys in. I like the sort of good character individuals.
And you spoke off air just briefly about getting back into really understanding what your team makeup looks like after a couple of weeks off. Is there any players outside of Brock maybe that have garnered some interest from the league currently on your squad? Who else is Tyler Shuck? Like Tyler Shuck's an interesting one. He's generated some value in the off season. Mm-hmm. He's had a really good rookie season. He's 38 already, which is a setback for him. But if you can get past that, I think he's got some value.
Jim, I'm sure you'll probably want to talk about our recent trade the other day, but Jim did throw Tyler Shuck in as an alternative for the trade we made the other day. I've had a little bit of interest in a couple of them, but to be honest, I find it interesting. I seem to be a very common choice for the most overrated team, which I think by definition doesn't really make me rated that highly if everyone thinks I'm quite bad. But I reckon people look at the roster and don't see a lot, which is fine. They're entitled to their opinion. I don't mind it though. I look at it. I Parker Washington, I reckon, has a lot of upside. I really like my two kind of core QBs. I really like Purdy and Mayfield. Mm-hmm. I think when going back and doing a little bit of pre-work before the podcast and going back over my old trades, two of my favourites are the ones where I got those two guys in because I just really like them both. I think they're just potential mainstays. They're not QB1, QB2 in the league kind of people, but they're both going to, in my mind, sit at the sort of end of the QB1 range for, the next 4 or 5 years.
Just steady.
Yeah, I think so. And just like, you talked about the running back gap, but I've always just believed that you genuinely only need to start 2 running backs. Like in the super flex format that we have, if you're deep at tight end, you can play 3 tight ends every week. And so, Mark Andrews is probably a little over the hill, but when he's been going well, and I've got a Brock Bowers, and then, Hunter Henry at different times has been good. Like, they're genuine starting options. And so the depth at some of those other positions isn't tested as probably much as it looks on paper.
Well, it's a great segue. Sorry. I was just going to say, great segue to, it sounds like you recruited Manny to the believing club that tight end is the best position in world sport, because you're rolling out 3 starters as we look at your squad here, or as I looked at your sleeper squad. And then you've still got Travis Kelce sitting on your bench there to plug in and play as you need to. Talk us through that trade. How did that come about? You seemed busy during the draft, not drafting.
Yeah, fair to say.
So talk us how that came about, and then talk us through your picks, which I'll run you through again after this.
Did I trade during the draft, Kelsey? Was that during?
Yeah, 26th.
So probably fair to say, without a first-round pick and having not spent a lot of time focused on NFL over the recent months, I was slightly nervous to discover that I actually had about 6 picks in the draft, thinking I had none. So we got to the draft. I had quite a busy weekend. I think I was playing footy and then watching, which it came up on the podcast, so I'll clarify this. I was watching the North game on delay because I was playing during the game. So, of course, as any good supporter does, you turn everything off so you don't hear any scores. So you can watch the game completely uninterrupted, unruined, unspoiled. And so as a result, basically 7.9 of my 8 hours ran out, and then I suddenly realised, turned the phone back on, realised it was my pick and threw something in there. So to answer your question, though, the Kelce trade came through from Ben. He fired it off, felt relatively on value. I like Travis Kelce. I like Taylor Swift. I thought it increases the chances of her having a connection to my team. I had no idea of any players that were remaining in the draft at that point, so I thought, yep, sounds good, let's pull the trigger. Saves me having to do a pick.
I got that sense when I just put it out there and said, would you be open? And he said, for who? I said, Kelce. And you were like, well, I'm in the middle of reading a bedtime story, so hopefully he hasn't retired and you're trying to pull one over on me. Yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm guessing you don't have much interest in this draft as of right now.
No, I just didn't know who anyone was, to be perfectly honest with you. And the only ones I did know, because I'm an A&M fan, like our A&M running back retires before our rookie draft, so he's been drafted, he's done, and then KC Conception was always going to go well early, so I literally just didn't know anyone in the draft.
Well, I was going to ask you for your feedback on your picks, but I might give you a run through of who you've drafted there, Manny.
That'd be great, actually.
At the 203, you got Chris Bell, wide receiver, who's gone to Miami. Coming off a knee injury, so very similar to kind of a Debo style. And he might be a nice second half of the season play if he gets a fair bit of usage in that offense. Nick Singleton's an interesting one. You got him at the 205, running back for the Tennessee Titans, and he's got aging veterans in front of him, so might be a nice chance there. I really liked 209 Elijah Surratt for the Baltimore Ravens. He's going to play a lot, even though he's a fourth-round pick. I think they've only got Zay Flowers there. Rashad Bateman's still there, but good opportunity there. And then an interesting one, Cade Klubnik, the 308. You've got Geno. So now you've got the rookie quarterback going in there who was once heralded at Clemson, but didn't have a great season in his last one, so he dropped in the draft. Anything that jumps out there?
No, well, I think you've nailed most of it. So you've refreshed my mind on what I was thinking each time. So Bell, I think it was, to be honest, he seemed like he'd slipped a little bit because I'd never heard of him, but just based on kind of my very cursory research in about the 2 minutes before my pick was up, seemed like he'd slipped a bit. Also looked like he might be an IR chance to start the season, so I thought I can tuck him away without using a spot.
No, sorry, keep going. I just
Singleton.
just keep the listeners engaged.
Singleton, I just thought there wasn't a heap in front of him at the Titans. He also seemed like a decent enough player. Surratt I've literally got Bateman and there's nothing ahead of him in Baltimore, so I thought he's a flyer to have a chance at starting. Klubnik, to be honest, I thought his name was Sputnik and I liked it. I just love Russian satellites, so I just misread that one, but also doubled up that I've got Geno, as you point out. And then if I took any other picks, I don't remember who they were, so there you go.
It was just Jamari Taylor, running back for the Jags there in the fourth round. So,
to be honest, he was probably top of the list when it came to my turn again because I had no idea at that point.
that is a fantastic rundown. Now, we know the takeaway. There's been a lot so far. You can turn that shit off now, Ben. That was a very nice touch. Did you hear the DFF's episode? That you couldn't have missed it. It's gone viral on YouTube and socials.
I saw it. I was in the US. I saw it. They were playing it at Times Square.
Yeah.
Instead of the Knicks games.
That's why there were riots. So, in general expert consensus, firstly, your thoughts on it, and then I'm going to follow up with a couple of questions.
My thoughts on general expert consensus as a...
Do you use it? Because the DFF doesn't.
No, I like to... Someone comes to me with a trade, I whack it into a trade calculator just to get some sort of sense of, like, just
ballpark.
Give me some sort of ballpark.
Yeah.
Smart.
And then I kind of overlay... And I'm sure we all feel this, so I'll admit this. I'm very skeptical about some people, and others I'm much more open to. So I feel like Jim's got me over a barrel, as an example, because I'm genuinely terrified. If I trade with Jim, I'm worried that if I don't do it, someone else is going to exploit him, and I'm going to lose out on the deal. Whereas if Mac comes to me, I'm just a lot more skeptical. I'm like, he's trying to think 2 steps ahead. You know,
what am I missing?
What's the angle here? Yeah, Keeney's the same. When you do it for a job, just a lot more skeptical. I'm much more... I leave those two unread a lot more because I'm like, I don't have the time to properly process this and think about how you're trying to rip me off here. So I'm just going to pause until I've got time.
And mate, it's always hard when you're dealing with Jim as well, because there isn't like a button to click where it's got moral compass and it just evaluates the trade in a little bit fairer. You can't actually... The calculator doesn't allow for that. Maybe one day it will.
Yeah, well...
But it certainly makes it challenging.
No, I think, like, similarly, whereas I feel like Camo is very easy to trade with because it's a very quick, easy conversation. It's like, do you want to do this? Yes, no, bang, all right, go. And you don't feel like he's not miserly in his trading. He just likes trading. That's the impression that I get, or else he carries it very well. So I think that, to go back to answering your question, I think part of it is I whack it in a calculator. Part of it is kind of the person is probably a little bit of how the trade goes. And then the other part of it is, honestly, if you catch me in the right mood, like if I'm reading a bedtime story and I'm half checked out, I might just click accept. If I'm distracted, I might not come back to you for 3 weeks. It really just depends. And I think going back and looking at some of my trades, I seem to have traded with like Matty Mack quite a lot. I reckon he's just got me at moments of weakness. Tim, everyone says he's hard to trade with, but I've actually traded with him quite a lot of times. He might just have good timing. I'm not sure.
He sends them through pretty late in the piece every day. What I am keen to get your opinion on is for a 29 first and second. Would you send them away for Cam Ward?
Yeah.
CJ Stroud?
These are the two I got from Jim, because that could be pick 1 and 13, or with Jim, who knows? It could be,
Yeah.
But not
Why
as
would it
big on
be pick
CJ
one?
Stroud.
Why would it be pick 1 and 13?
Jim has the potential to absolutely blow up his team like several times between now and then. But equally, like I think I've had his first round picks before, and they weren't very good picks. Like, he had a good season. Like, he can massively yo-yo up and down. So you look at his roster now and you go, you'd hope that it's a high pick in a couple of years, but who would know with Jim? Because he mixes it up all the time. Like, if you've got a DFF pick, you turn up to the lottery with your briefcase, whereas others, it can be a bit more variable. So I don't know. CJ Stroud, I'm not sure. I like him, but I'm just not quite convinced that he's... I think Ward's still got the upside. Is probably a bit of hold-on retrade value. I don't know. Stroud could have a shocker and his value falls away.
Kyler? Your homeboy?
I was looking at Kyler today. So probably not those two picks, because I actually looked at it. So 29, I happened to look at this. 29 first is pretty much bang on even trade calculator with Kyler. And I would love to have Kyler and JJ, and I genuinely looked at it and thought, would I offer that? But I'm kind of defeating the purpose of giving away a quarterback and bringing in an older one for effectively the same pick. So that's why I paused.
And you mentioned Tyler Shuck that was in the chat with Jim. Were you not wanting to give him away because you also see the potential there, or how did that come about?
I preferred to keep Shuck over Willis, yeah. And the reason being that I won't start Willis this year under almost any circumstances. Even if he went nuts, it'd take me half the season to figure out to play him. And Willis could completely destroy his value, whereas I think Shuck is probably a bit of a safer long-term bet. So I'd rather him ride the bench and hold value than the up or down side of Willis.
See, you come across like you don't know what you're doing, but you do. And then the last one, 29 first and second for a short back and sides.
I don't know about the first. I reckon a 1 is a bit tight on the clipper. I'd probably say a second, a third, a 2 and a 3 blended. Then maybe a little comb over at the top.
I reckon you were mentioning a few things there that go into your calculator and what you look at when a trade comes your way, but I reckon you do look at how sensible the haircut is of that player, and if it is, I reckon you might shave a bit of the price off and get the deal done.
Absolutely. Like look at Devontae Adams. Would not touch him with a bar of soap. That hair is berserk. And whereas, as you talked about Tyler Shuck before, it's just a really sensible looking, comfortable haircut. You don't mind having that on your roster. Can I also just add, as you're asking me these, there's a little bit of me that's terrified that I may have completely misrated the order of them. Like, I have absolutely no idea whether Tyler Shuck is miles better than Stroud or Stroud's better than Ward or whatever. Like, this is just straight off the cuff, top of the head. I haven't calculated any of these.
No, full transparency. I was just asking because they're the 4 quarterbacks rated ahead of Malik Willis, and I just wanted to see how much you might have did Jim over with that trade, but it was pretty fair.
When you punched it into your trade calculator, did it say absolutely accept on your side?
Don't actually
Smash
know.
accept.
I'm not sure I even did that one. I just felt like this is great. I'm getting the first
you're a
and
bit
second.
coy now on the trade calculator.
No, I genuinely can't remember. I might have done it, and I probably was coming up ahead. But like the reason for me is I genuinely thought there's a chance, especially after what did he give away? Harold Fannin for a bit of fab or something like that the week before. I thought he may not have a team left, so a first and second could be pick 1 by 2029 and pick 13. And it's like my 6th quarterback at the moment, who's he's absolutely high upside, but it's really hard to see how I'm going to play him in the short term. So I just thought it's just too good to say no to without even calculating it.
Surely a bit at the back of your mind was that his value had absolutely tanked in his Tennessee years, and it has slowly risen up to a point of value where he's been offered a contract at Miami. Were you just happy to get value that had come back from this person you invested in back of the first round pick on?
No, not really. I think like I've had that with a few. Like I had Gino, got him in his darkest days, and then he bounced back, and I've just kind of ritted him back into the dirt. Which I'm not necessarily saying is the best strategy, but it's not so much like I'm not a buyer and seller like a lot of you guys are, where you're sort of trying to cash in value.
Yep.
It's more just I think he's like highly variable. He could go really well, or he could flame out and be nothing. But the thing is, if he goes really well, he's probably doing it on my bench. So if I can get good value for him, like that's one I would take. Whereas some of the others, it's a little bit like, well, I'll take the risk on him. It's just sort of situational.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's always good when you take someone at 12 and they play 20 games in 4 years and you get more for them 4 years later. So I think you've done pretty well when we break that down. But I think the league is really
Jim thinks so too, clearly, based on my eye. So
yeah, that's good. But what about the Fannin trade? Like we've asked most people that have come on here what they think of that, and I suppose more broadly, what you think of Jake's trading philosophy in general terms.
So I'm probably not as outraged because I'm probably not. I don't really. I just more concentrate on having a tight end one and don't really worry about who else exists in the league. So probably don't know about as much about Fannin as the rest of you, but it did feel like a very lopsided trade because Blake Corum, I do know about him because I obviously had Kyron Williams for the past few years, and I definitely don't think that was a particularly even trade. Jake's philosophy on life, as it is on trade, seems to be ruthless, and who blames him for that? That's how you get 2 rings. The interesting thing I've always thought about Jake's trading is he seems to cash out his running backs really early. So he's like a big running back trader, and he seems to trade them when they're sort of just coming off their peak, as opposed to trying to get them deeper on the way down, which I think is very smart. And as someone that, even though I haven't gone after running backs, I've had a couple, like Alvin Kamara is a good example, where I've just kind of ridden him down to nothing, and you get no value for that. So I do sort of see the wisdom in the way Jake goes about it. I don't have anything against him for taking advantage if he can take advantage. That's the game we play.
Very, very diplomatic. Let's dive into your team a little bit more. And I sort of look through and I'm looking at Kelsey, Tyreek Hill. I'm looking at Hopkins, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Rodgers. It reminds me of a pretty decorated retirement home, to be honest. What are you worried about in terms of your roster and who might lose some value at the end of this year?
I think the ones you've said have no value. So I don't think there's a whole heap of value sitting with them anyway in terms of trading. I don't think they're equally kind of the key assets within my roster regardless. The probably if we decide to sort of have a bit of a, you guys come up with your fancy betting competitions and different gimmicks every year. If you have let's have a 2012 week of fantasy and we'll play our teams against each other. I think I'm looking pretty good at that. So always hold out an outside hope.
Hanging out for that gimmick.
Yeah, you never know. But no, to be honest with you, I've kind of accumulated them without any particular thought or strategy. And when you say it like that, it does sound pretty bad. But, again, I don't kind of see them as... I hope I haven't given up too much for them. But they're not central parts to my roster. So they're probably ones that will just kind of age gracefully and then we'll take them out to the paddock and put a bullet in them.
Old Yeller style.
Is there anyone else maybe in your starting lineup that you feel like is teetering this year? Yeah. I think Andrews is a bit cooked, but I think he's still there. But we're talking about older. Devontae Smith, it's a big opportunity for him this year, obviously with AJ Brown gone. He could really make something of it and be a true wide receiver one and kind of really set me up, or he could, kind of the rookie could take his spot and he could kind of slip backwards, metaphorically back into the hedge and obscurity and kind of lose any value he does have there. Justin Jefferson is one that I really value him. He's really highly rated, but he probably hasn't put the numbers up the last couple of years. I feel like he also is kind of one bad year away from, even though it wouldn't make him a worse player, it would really hurt his value in the minds of everyone else. I think we're all kind of thinking of him still in the Kirk Cousins days rather than the last couple of years where he's had to deal with some pretty average quarterbacks.
I don't know if I agree with that, Manny. I think this is arguably the best wide receiver in NFL history and what he's done in his first few years. Even last year when he had statistically the worst quarterback on any category of quarterback stats, McCarthy was in the bottom 4, and he still churned out a pretty solid year. And now his stock's well up again. In redraft, I think he's a top 5 receiver. I just don't think that he would be, even if he had a bad season now, he's in his prime. He's as good as there is. I think he'll be fine.
Oh, I'm pleased to hear that, because I reckon I'm probably a little close to him because I've had to ride him the last couple of years, and when your whole team's built around a guy, you're very attuned to when they're underperforming.
But you nailed it before. We do this to win championships, but you also want to have the players on your roster that you actually enjoy watching on a Monday morning or whenever it is. One I want to talk about is Parker Washington. And if you don't know who this is, it's one of the 10 receivers in Jacksonville that are up for being the number 1 here. But he had a sneaky good year last year, and everything that Jacksonville have done in the offseason is suggesting that they want to pay him, they want to feature him, even though they've got Jacoby Myers they extended, they've got BTJ, who had one of the best rookie seasons, but absolutely tanked last year, so everyone thinks he's coming back. And then Brenton Strange is a pretty handy tight end. So how do you feel about him? Because he's one that could ascend into a big deal with Jacksonville, as they've talked about.
Yeah, I love him. His back half of the year was incredible. He was in my mind doesn't really matter much, but I think he was quite clearly the number 1 wide receiver at the back end of last year and was putting up really big numbers. I think he sits atop their depth chart at the moment, which doesn't mean much at this time of year, but I think he's a real opportunity to be a really strong, good wide receiver 1. And they're obviously, as you just have alluded to, building a pretty potentially high-powered offense. So he'd be good. I think that's the thing for me. I've got a potential really good wide receiver in Devontae Smith, depending on kind of how things play out at the Eagles. I've obviously got Justin Jefferson. Parker Washington could be one. I really like Jalen Reed as well. I think he gets forgotten a bit because he's injured a lot. So he sort of plays a couple of big games and then he disappears for a few weeks and you sort of forget about him. But I actually reckon I've got some pretty good talent on wide receiver. I just don't think it's highly rated talent. So I don't think there's high trade value for it. But I could see, to use Keeney's old term, I could see a world where a few of them fire and suddenly my wide receiver position's pretty strong this year and my only gap's running back.
You talk about your list and you've spoken about trade partners over the years, so I want you to cast your mind back over to the entirety of this league. What in your opinion, is the best trade you've ever made in this league?
I think Keeney stole my thunder last week, but I was going straight to Russell Wilson for 3 firsts. Because it just, the way that history proved afterwards, it was, kind of just got him right at the edge of the cliff, got out of him right at the edge of the cliff, I should say. I really liked a couple of sort of other ones that may be a little bit less obvious. I touched on it before, but I really liked the trades that brought in Baker Mayfield and Brock Purdy. Mm-hmm. I just really like them. I just think they're both really good long-term options. I was having a look at it earlier, and the Brock Purdy trade was... Let me find it. So the Mayfield trade actually was... So I got him a 3rd and a 2nd for you, Keeney, for Drake London, which I don't know how you feel about it now, but I feel very good about that still. Drake London has kind of got better. He's a bit disappointing at the time, but I just love Mayfield. So there might be one where we all walk away thinking we're winners, but I was pretty happy with
Seems pretty fair. If not, you have the edge on that probably.
Yeah, maybe. And then the other one was Purdy and Reed. So this is Jaden Reed we're talking about. I gave up a lot. So this was with Tim. I gave up Christian Watson, Zay Flowers, a 2nd and a 1st, which was a 26 first, so the year that we've just had. But I got Purdy and Reed. And again, you probably look at that and go, I lost that trade. But I'm just really happy with him. I just think, when we look back, Purdy will have contributed a lot more points, or Purdy and Reed together, than potentially what those other picks combined did, even though there's 4 of them. So I feel all right about that one. And the other one was, I think I was the first person ever to trade with the DFF. So one of his 4 trades ever or something like that. And it was a blockbuster too. It was just after the draft, and he had his eye on my man Brian Edwards, who I just drafted from the Raiders. And I relinquished him for Marlon Mack, which I think career-wise, Marlon Mack was all right for a few more years before his Achilles burst to smithereens, and Brian Edwards played about 4 snaps in his life. So,
Not a bad one.
Do you remember the Brian Edwards hype from the DFF?
Yeah.
This guy's a baller. Like it was.
Everyone had hype. You brought up Laviska Shenault, who he thought
That's a good point.
deserves 7 first rounders for.
Hey, philosophically, being a mad Viking supporter, and this isn't about the DFF, but it's more around your philosophy. So, if you were in the DFF's shoes and you had JJ McCarthy on your roster, this isn't about the DFF. How do you process? Do I hold or do I sell after that year?
Well, I think you know what I'd do. Look at my roster. I'd never sell a quarterback, especially low. So I'd hold him. Is the short, because basically you might get something for him, and I feel like you guys and Jake and others would probably go, right, I'll cash out something that I feel like is a bit of value and just
Be done with
walk away and move on. But I'd sort of go, I've spent some draft capital on him. What I'm going to get is not that useful to me in terms of picks, particularly because I have no idea who the players are in the 3rd round. So if I'm getting 2nd and 3rd round picks, I genuinely don't know what to do with them. So they're not actually very helpful to me. So I'm a bit more like first, or I'll just kind of hold the player and hope they yo-yo back up again, a bit like a Malik Willis type situation, or I can just get some points out of him. So I think I'd hold is my answer.
You know who does value 2nd and 3rd and 4th rounders though?
Jim.
That's true. I've tried. I actually looked back at my history.
Doesn't rate first.
Before we did this trade the other day, I offered him, who was it for? 2 fourths. I was going to give him 2 fourths for someone. I was like, oh, that's probably a little bit of an unreasonable trade. But it wasn't that bad.
Cam Ward or?
No. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was just like a middle of the road player kind of thing, like a sort of a bit of a depth guy. I'll look it up while we're chatting and try and find it. But yeah, anyway, I'd keep him is the short answer, and I'm not that good at I'm a bit of a reactive trader. So I think you get, and you said it last week, Benny, I believe, just throw it out there, see what you get. I don't do that very often, and so I often miss the good deals.
Can you take us back to the infamous rookie draft when the DFF dragged you in a room and gave you 7 seconds
His best.
that you never get back? Tell us what happened.
So I'm trying to remember it now, but obviously going into the draft, I had, picks 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, something like that, right? I had most of them. Didn't have pick 1 or 2. And he traded back to 2 from 1. Was that right?
No, he traded into
2.
Traded into 2. That's right. And he must have had
With
the
Hod.
4 or something as well.
He had 4. Yeah.
So Matt had pick 1, and it was Bijan was the lock.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh no, or was that the Breece Hall draft? Am I confusing
Breece
the
Hall.
two?
Oh,
Breece.
ooh. No. It must have been Bijan because he didn't have 1 and 2, did he?
Yeah, I think he did have 1 and 2.
No,
I think
he did, and he
into
went
2
and he went
held
Breece
1.
Right.
at
That's
1.
right.
And then I think he was dangling pick 2 to you, thinking you had a really high QB.
Well, he traded into it, and obviously my gap was QB at the time because to get those 9 first rounders, I'd got 6 of them by trading out Joe Burrow and trading out Russell Wilson. Yep. So I'd literally given away all my QBs. I actually didn't think I had enough on the roster. I think Phillip Rivers was retired, and I had him starting QB at the time. So everyone knew I needed QB. He obviously, I don't know if he thought it when he traded into it, but we get into the night and he comes up to me and whispered in my ear. There was a little bit of like tongue on the top, which was a bit gross as well, but whispered in my ear, "Have I got a deal for you?" And then I sort of followed him into the laundry, unsure of whether it was to do with NFL or he was going to sort of make some sort of other nefarious proposition. And he said, "You interested in pick 2?" And I said, "No." And then that was it. And he looked crestfallen and then kind of slumped back out of the room a few minutes later.
To give you context, we had been at Scoot's place for, felt like 90 minutes at least getting ready for this draft. And you'd played a game of footy, you were on the other side of the West Gate, you were making your way back. So it was a drawn out process. And he couldn't sit still. Like he was pacing the joint. He'd had this grand plan in his head the whole time. And for that drawn-out process, there was nothing funnier than to watch for 90 minutes him just be on edge about this great plan, and you shut it down in what felt like less than 3 seconds, and then he didn't know what to do. He thought about trading back with Hod. I think he forgot that he traded with Hod in the first place.
Right. He tried to get back to you, didn't he? I just didn't want Kenny Pickett. Like, honestly, it was because if I don't, like, basically I'm trading up to take Kenny Pickett, or I can take anyone. I can take anyone I want because I've got the next 8 picks more or less. So it was really a question of, do you want to have to give away a bunch to get pick 2 and have Kenny Pickett, or do you just take all the other players in the draft and deal with it later? And that's what I did.
No, very good. And just quickly, you did mention to me off air that you're thinking of co-managing Jim's team at the right time with your mum. But what part of that job does appeal to you?
It's getting closer to mum, to be honest. Just getting to spend some quality time together. I think we'd collaborate really well with Jim. I think her particularly would be a really nice balance to his volatility. She's a very good cook of dim sims as well. So
everyone wins.
Really enjoy that. Everyone wins. And I think also, like, it's nice to have a reserves team in the EDL. Obviously, Jake's had one for a couple of years with Jim, and Matty Marks had one for a couple of years with Jim. So it'd just be nice to sort of set.
All right. Well, just very quickly, let's while we finish up on trades here. So you spoke about your best trade. In hindsight, what's the worst trade in the 7 years of the league you've made?
Garrett Wilson for Mills in a second. Didn't, in hindsight, look that good. I reckon, in hindsight as well, the Joe Burrow one. So to remind everyone of the Joe Burrow trade, it was like a bit of a big one. I gave up Joe Burrow and Brandon Allen, who was just a backup at the time. I got 3 first-round picks, but they ended up being late ones in that year. So it was my own one, Keeney's and Pappas, and I think they all did okay from Como. I also got Ben Roethlisberger and Mason Rudolph. So basically took the Steelers quarterback room, which gave me a quarterback, because if you remember, as I said before, like, I gave up all my quarterbacks, so it gave me the position to start. But I reckon in hindsight, I'd probably just rather have kept Joe Burrow for the duration than a bunch of late-round picks. I think I turned those into, like, Sky Moore, maybe Garrett Wilson or someone, but, like, they didn't go that well. Probably the other one is, I don't know. No, actually, no, they're probably them. I think, like, I haven't, in hindsight, I reckon I've lost a few trades by a bit, but I've not got smashed in too many.
Yep.
So, like, even though I look back now on the Kyron Williams and Kenneth Walker trades from last year, and I'm like, I didn't even remember that I had those picks when we got to the draft, so I clearly probably gave them up a bit cheaply.
And last one for me, boys, just on your team before we jump into your thoughts on the rest of the league, which I'm sure you'll have many. But I suppose I'm interested to know just where you think your team is at right now. And if you could make a run for it, what's the missing piece in terms of a player from another roster you'd like to just grab to go, yep, I'm in and I'm a chance to contend in this division?
Yeah. I think where my team's at is it's got a bit of sneaky upside. Like, I look at a side like the Executioners. Like, they won a chip last year, and, like, look at that roster on paper. It's not drastically different from mine in terms of quality. But I feel like it's the sort of team that if I go chips in too early, I really risk blowing it all up and setting myself back quite a bit. So I kind of need a few things to fall the right way for me. So I feel like it's the type of team that I kind of just go into the season, I see how it goes. And if a few of those wide receivers come on, if a couple of the quarterbacks really have good years and suddenly I'm, like, contending, then I pull the trigger on the extra pieces. Equally, it could go the complete other way and I might kind of swing into a rebuild. But I feel like that's kind of where I'm at. I'm probably, which, to be honest with you, is pretty much middle of the road, which is exactly what we spoke about at the start. And it's been my lot in life since I joined the league. But if it does work, I think the two things that I'm probably missing are, one would be pull the trigger on, like, a really good running back who's going to go berserk, you know, a Bijan, or, you know, probably more gettable is like an older one, like a McCaffrey if he's having a good year kind of thing. The other one would be just pull the trigger on upgrading at quarterback or wide receiver just to get a really another quality one in. So, like, I've got all my quarterback depth. If I found someone that was really struggling and I could kind of do a bit of a 2-for-1 trade and bring in a really good elite wide receiver, that probably gives me that boost of points that I probably need to contend with the really good sides. But I think I'm a bit off it. It would be the honest appraisal.
Well, middle of the road you call it, but you'll be pleased to know Dynasty Daddy calls it frisky. So that's where you might be floating at this point. But let's focus our attention to the upper echelon of the league, and we always like asking this question: of the contenders, who do you think is the biggest pretender?
Can you tell me who you think the contenders are?
We can tell you who Dynasty Daddy
Yeah, I'd
has
love to
listed
know.
as. It's got Prestige Worldwide, The Grouse, Straight Cash Homies, Papa's Punishers, and OJ's Legal Team.
I reckon OJ's is the biggest pretender. I reckon he 100% trades off the early luck he had in the league, winning a couple of rings off very mediocre teams with very lucky playoff runs, and we all think he's a lot better than he actually is.
Yeah. Well, he did win from the 6th seed, so
It's true.
Yeah.
makes sense.
I like it.
I look at his roster and like he's always very good at running back, but I just don't love the depth across the board there. I don't reckon there's. You compare that to Matty Mac's team, and I'd expect one to win by 50 if they played a grand final tomorrow.
No love lost in the Bo Callahan division.
None whatsoever so far. So, okay, which owner then is just one bad season away from a full emotional rebuild?
Camo, I reckon he's.
Can't have a worse season, could he? He didn't win.
I reckon. I listened to him on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I've come to the conclusion that his trading is a cry for help. He's swung violently from fully focused on the league to paying no attention to the league to trading every day to going on full trade detoxes. I reckon he's teetering out of orbit. I should say. I just made up a word. He's teetering out of orbit.
Let's go with it.
The catering diet's when you have it's a burger a day for a month.
Keeps the doctor away.
That's right. No, I reckon if he sort of expects to go a little bit up and the season goes out of control from him and he's putting up single figure scores, which
It's in the realm.
which is a possibility. But no, I'd say him. The other one I think is it's a bit of a boring Monday answer, but I reckon Jim could have not a full team by the end of the season. He sort of miscalculates a trade and suddenly he's like 6 players on his roster or something. I think there could be emotional rebuild to follow that as well.
2 very, very good answers, boys. Obviously, the EDL is clearly the number one league you're involved in, but how many leagues are you involved in these days, Manny? And what does that Monday morning look like for you?
I'm involved in 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm involved in 6. This is the only Dynasty League, and probably for the foreseeable future will remain that way. The other ones, I've kind of got 2 what I would call priority leagues, and then a few more that are a little bit more, a bit for fun.
Yep.
Monday mornings for me is it's interesting listening to you good gentlemen talk about this last week, because I do all the things that you say not to do that you've wisely learnt not to. So I get very excited. The first week of the season, I pretty much don't sleep. So I listen to some podcasts. I get, it's about 1 o'clock. I'm like, oh, it's only 2 hours. I'll just kind of go watch some old replays of all the failed Vikings teams that didn't quite get to Super Bowls. I get up 15 minutes before kickoff and just tinker with my rosters, just check kind of everything. The other thing I do before I go to bed, I've got a diary that I use kind of just for everything, on day-to-day work or whatever. I write out every game of the week, who I've got, who my opponents have got. So when I'm watching Red Zone, I can be super clear on exactly what I want to happen, what I don't want to happen. And it is absolutely emotionally torturous. But it definitely makes you more invested in everything, because you're like, oh, if this kicker, like third down, if they get 3 yards here, it's going to bring the kicker down to 59 yards and then he gets 5 instead of 6. Like, you're genuinely like the, guy from The Hangover, the numbers are flying around in your head constantly, and and it's 4 a.m. on a Monday and you got to go to work in about 4 hours. It's horrible. It's the worst experience, but it's how I do it, and I kind of love it.
What's your go-to burger at 4 a.m.?
4 a.m.
Bacon and egg.
My go-to burger
You're switching
in
to a
life is
bacon egg.
my go-to burger in life is Five Guys. They're the best. And then at 4 a.m. they're never open. So you're probably going to probably Hungry Jack's, double whopper with cheese, maybe a quarter pounder if you want something lighter.
It used to be a really cheap alternative, but it's not cheap anymore, is it?
Hungry's?
Well, just anything.
No, your gourmet burgers aren't. You're looking at $20 for all these fancy viral burger joints, but trusty Macca's and Hungry Jack's, they're still 10 to $12.
Is Shaz joining you in the burger game, or what's the other half doing?
She's a fitness freak these days. She's
well, you are too.
She's on an excellent the fitness bit, not the diet bit. She's doing both. So no, they no, she doesn't join me with these. She's more of a let's steam some broccoli and have a quick water before bed kind of person.
Is that Manny Mac?
If I feel like there's a theme here. We just keep talking about food with this man. If your franchise, the Haircuts, had a headline at the end of the season, what would it read?
Headline. I think it would be... That's a really good question. I think it would be the rise of the obscures carries Johnny Unitas to 7-7 season, finishing 6th.
Oh, brilliant!
Couple of obscure quarterbacks come into prominence, and basically I end up exactly where I end up every other season.
That's amazing. He hits a 3 to make it a 35-point ball game.
That's right.
To cut the margin to 35. That's brilliant. 7-7. You're destined just for a sensible scoreline at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think so. But you never know. This could be the year we turn upside down. It was quite fun the other year when I traded everything out and suddenly had the whole draft. So you never know. I might dally with that again. We'll see.
Well, maybe it's not a bold prediction, but give us a bold prediction for what is in store for your team. I know you sort of mentioned maybe 7-7, but is there something a bit bolder than that? Because that's pretty, block it down the pitch sort of stuff for you.
I reckon the boldest would be that I go like 2-12 and really and walk away with a bunch of future picks at the end of the season. But I think the sort of slightly less optimistic bold would be I scrape in with like a 9-5 and then really make a playoff run, pull the trigger late, and a few things have fallen my way and I go big late.
It's been done.
It's been done. I think I've got the sort of side that could do it. Probably won't, but could.
What a way to finish with a middle of the pack team. Probably won't, but could.
It's a slogan to live by.
If that doesn't get you up and about as a supporter, I don't know what will.
It probably won't, but could.
Oh, well, for anyone who you've got to, if you haven't done yourself a favour, tune into the YouTube page, The League Down Under. Instagram, same deal, League Down Under. Johnny Unitas Haircuts, are we gonna see an Instagram page? Have you figured out how to use Instagram to generate a page for the team?
Yeah, no, so absolutely. So I'm understanding your global reach. I've gone with a slightly different tactic, and I've set myself up on VK, which is the Russian Facebook. So,
as we said at the start, everyone else is playing checkers, and you're playing chess. You're just
I'm playing chess with Borchakov. No, absolutely. So, if you want to see some really high quality content, pop on over to VK. I'm launching on Weibo as well next week, WeChat. So for any Mandarin supporters out there, ni hao, come and join this sensible haircuts.
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, well, Hod is our next team up for the podcast. You got big shoes to fill, mate. This is normally where we give you the floor, but I feel like you just recruited half of the world. Let's finish us off strong.
All right, you've got to let me compose myself here because I've lost the plot. What I will say is this: I'd say if you want pure adrenaline or excitement, there's a couple of teams you could follow in this league. I am not one of them. If you want if you're an ambulance chaser, you want a front row seat to train wreck, you want to see pure incompetent management, follow the DFF or the Gym City Stallions, that's not me either. If you love trading, you love mixing it up, there's your Cummos, there's others, again, that's not me. But if you want to be absolutely mediocre, if you want to rock up on a Monday morning and have a really sensible feel about your NFL watching, if you want to be middle of the road, and if you want to just wake up, look at yourself in your beige mirror, wearing your nicely cut haircut, with your suit and tie, and go to work in your boring desk job, I am the team for you. The Johnny Unitas Sensible Haircuts is the home that you will find where you can live out your pale existence with a bunch of very friendly, very nice people who are good at a barbecue.
Very, very nice. Summertime are good, summertime is shit.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the League Down Under. Cheers for coming on, Manny, and we'll see you next week.
Pleasure, folks.